We're back after a bit of a break, a much deserved and needed break, but a lot of things have changed over this past, I would say, a month. Liverpool, there were talks of, Arsenal catching them and them stuttering and injuries catching up to Liverpool, but they've just boosted and they've increased the lead at the top of the table to now 13 points. Whereas we look at the other side, it's Chelsea who are struggling and struggling massively. Uh, there's also fears that they might not get the fifth position, which means missing out on the Champions League again, which would be a huge debacle, uh, given the investments in the side. But first, let's start on a positive end. Liverpool, they played West Ham last time around, and I don't know, it was a very weird game. So initially we did very well and we took the lead and it seemed like we were going to coast to a victory, but then we completely dropped off. I don't know what this is, but we forgot how to play football, it seemed. And West Ham, given despite all their problems, they still staged a very good comeback. And lo and behold, Virgil van Dijk, of all people, was responsible for the own goal, although it went off Andy Robertson. It became 1-1, and jitters were there because Arsenal had drawn the previous day. And like, was this going to be another chance of us dropping points or giving some hope to Arsenal? But when Virgil van Dijk fixed it up, he scored from a corner, celebrated wildly, kissed the badge. We got 2-1 win. We're now 13 points clear. We need just two more wins from our remaining 8 games to become Premier League champions for the second time. Obviously, this would be a 20th league title, but this would be quite an achievement given that we don't have Jurgen Klopp. We didn't make any signings. Again, we've spoken about this a lot of times, but very interesting game, very interesting performance from Liverpool. And this is not the first time this has happened, Rohit. If you see how we've played over the past month and a half, you'll see that there are large chunks of the game where we completely lose control and we allow the
Mhm.
opposition to hit us and attack us constantly. It's not counter attacking also, like they dominate and they create really good chances. And that's again what happened against West Ham. So, what are your thoughts of this game? Like how we performed against West Ham and just about getting the win.
Well, I didn't see the match, but my thoughts on this is kind of on a slightly higher level view of it, right? Of course, you guys have not had a flawless season, right? But just imagine, even with all of those issues and having spent like a meager amount on Chiesa, you guys are running away with the league. So what that essentially means is when you guys eventually win the next two games and get crowned champion, and Chelsea have to give you the
The
guard of
God of honor.
honor. Yeah, next season you guys have money to spend, right? You have the time and the money and the financial strength to go out there and improve on the things that need improving. So I think it's good. It bodes well for Liverpool. The fact that it wasn't a flawless season basically probably means you guys need to go strengthen your squad. And we'll talk about some of the strengthening stuff that you guys have already done, in extended contracts. But I think, like we saw PSG beat Liverpool, right? So there are certainly areas you can improve on. But that being said, you're still walking away with the league. And, if there was a metric like dollars spent per league title, I don't think any club is going to ever beat Liverpool's run this time around.
Yeah, no, FSG will take all the plaudits, and rightly so because we got somebody like Arnish. Obviously, people will say that the other clubs fell off. Manchester City fell off. Arsenal have had injuries, but then you make your own luck as you go along. We were excellent in the first half of the season. I don't think anybody can doubt that. Second half of the season, obviously, uh, playing the same players time and time again has affected us. We saw how we performed in the FA Cup. We saw the performance in the League Cup final against Newcastle. So you're rightly saying that there are certain areas that we need to improve on. That fact is something we've spoken about. We'll speak about some of the players, but then you touched upon an interesting fact that two of our most important players, maybe two of the greatest Premier League players, have renewed their deals after so much conversation about the futures. Mohamed Salah signed his deal last week, and then Virgil and Van Dijk did it this today. So they both are staying for 2 years. I believe they both are getting £400,000 per week. Both of them, I believe, rejected offers from other clubs or countries which were massively going to spend. I mean, there were rumors of Salah getting 500 million. So that just shows how interested and how much they love this club. And I think I need to give credit to also the social media team of Liverpool. The two promos or the two images that have taken out, like one is more in than more out for Mohamed Salah, and then Liverpool is always what it is, or something like that for Van Dijk. I think that just speaks volumes of how much they both love Liverpool. So the thing is, Salah is playing the best he has played since joining Liverpool. Virgil van Dijk is a Rolls Royce of a defender. I hate using such analogies, but it is what it is. I think they both can play for Liverpool a long for a few more years. And we've spoken about this previously also, is that if we were not to renew the deals, who could you get in place of them for 30, 40, 50, 60 million? You can't. You won't get somebody like that. So it's smart that it was done. Obviously, as a Liverpool fan, I would have wanted this wrapped up not just at the start of January of this year, but at the start of the season. But uh, it's good news. We will talk about Trent, the third piece of the puzzle, and what's going on with him. Now, I have a sneaky suspicion that he could be the third person to sign or re-sign for us, given certain things that are happening at Real Madrid. If you see what has happened against Arsenal, I mean, they were taken to the cleaners. A lot of people are saying that this is the worst Real Madrid that they have seen in a long, long time. Despite them having so many star players, they've got Vinicius, Rodrigo, of course, Mbappe, they've got Modric, but something seems off over there. And there are rumors coming out that Carlo Ancelotti might leave even before the season has ended. So, with so much upheaval, so much like so many unknown factors, and Real Madrid haven't confirmed that Trent is signing. Trent hasn't said anything. Maybe, I don't know, maybe at the end of the season, it could be that, in the bus parade, it's Trent who comes out and says, I'm staying. Could be that, that Steven Gerrard moment, if you remember, in the Champions League in
Ah, yeah.
2005, Chelsea wanted him, and there was so much talk about him leaving, but he stayed. So I don't know. Let's see. But obviously, keeping
So
Salah and Van Dijk was the priority. I think they were the two more important players to keep.
yeah, that's a good point, right? Let me just ask you a few questions or just maybe discuss these two separately, right? The Salah and Van Dijk thing, I've told you this before. I have like immense faith in Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes, right? I know that they'll do the right thing, and they clearly have. It took time, like you said, but these kind of things take time. We've talked about the fact that if they didn't renew the contracts for Salah and Van Dijk, these guys would have had to go out and probably spend like in excess of 150 million at least
Yep.
to get players even close to their caliber. Forget about the experience and the connection with the club, right? That's irreplaceable. That's yeah, it's basically something you cannot buy with money. So they've done an amazing job retaining these guys. They obviously have many more years of top level football in them. So, they're also probably use the next 2 years to groom the next generation of Liverpool superstars. You guys already have quite a few young and upcoming stars. You have, Kwanzaa, center back, young center back. Van Dijk is probably going to groom him, make him better. You probably need a few reinforcements in attack, but having these guys there also ensures continuity, right? A league-winning team, which you guys are, eminently becoming, having that continuity is so important. Instead of like firing people and completely turning a new slate. So, kudos to Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes for doing that. So for the Trent Alexander-Arnold thing, right? How important is he, right? To Liverpool, especially because you have a pretty good deputy, and if he's making unreasonable demands and he wants to go to Real Madrid or something, would you guys be like heartbroken if he leaves? Especially, would you be as heartbroken as if Salah and Van Dijk would have left?
So, should Trent leave? I would not be that heartbroken, apart from the fact that he's spoken so much about being the Scouser and how this means more, and he wanted to emulate Steven Gerrard and stay here for as long as possible, be a captain, lead Liverpool. So this is the strongest Liverpool team we have seen ever. At least I have seen ever. So obviously I can't talk about the 80s. I wasn't born then, but this is like the best Liverpool team we've seen ever. They're constantly challenging for titles, even without regularly spending and breaking the transfer window records, etc. So that just shows how well this team is, or has been built. So that's the real pain point. Now, regarding losing Trent as a player, so this was obviously the emotional side of things, him being a scouser, etc. The thing is that we've seen over the past month when he was injured, there really is no good creativity on our end. Like
Interesting.
Trent moves into the midfield to do the passes, those Hollywood style crosses, which are pinpoint and accurate, and starting attacks quickly, crossfield passes, etc. When you don't have that in the team, there's nobody else in our side who can do that. Right. Andy Robertson used to be a very good crosser of the ball, but obviously he's on the decline. Our midfield is Ryan Gravenberch, who's really lost steam because he's been played so much. You've got McAllister, who's good, but he can't do those kind of passes. And then you've Szoboszlai,
Yes.
who runs around and does the work of two men on the pitch. But again, he's not a creative outlet like this thing is. Now, that's the point that you would lose somebody who's possibly the best passer of the ball in the Premier League, I would say. Possibly. So replacing that won't be easy. Obviously, the downside or the countering point is that his defending is not that good, and Konate has to do twice the work. The interesting thing is in this last game, I think against it was West Ham, is that when Connor Bradley was playing as the right back, he was fit and he was starting. Mohamed Salah was much more effective because he didn't have to worry about coming back and tracking back and
Defending.
defending. So Connor Bradley isn't an attacker, but he's a very good defender. And there were times when Connor Bradley tried to get into attack and cross the ball. So it's not like he's not moving up or down the flanks. He's just that he doesn't have the range of passing. So
Mhm.
it's a kind of a catch-22 situation because Mohamed Salah against West Ham in that first half was unplayable. He was up against a very young West Ham left back, but he was terrorizing him. I mean, like this was the best that we'd seen Salah in almost a month and a half. So it's difficult to say, or just say that losing Trent would affect us positively or negatively. Obviously, you're losing a world class player who's got the best years ahead of him, and he could become a midfield cog, move him out from the right back position. But then on the other side, losing like his defensive capabilities are always up for question. Like teams constantly attack him. So would you not have a proper right back and rebuild the side? And we've been talking about a lot of transfers coming in. So there have been a lot of names that we've talked about. We talk about Kirkes, we talk about Huijsen from Bournemouth. There is a lot of talk about some creative midfielders also coming in. And Anish thought for once, like I think this is the first time he's come out and said that there will be a lot of spending in the summer. I want to rebuild the side or at least bring more fresh faces in. So we have to see what happens with Liverpool because I think this could be an interesting summer given that we've got two of the biggest deals done. Now it's providing them with the other tools to ensure that they are in the race for multiple trophies because Van Dijk wants to win more, Salah wants to win more. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the point, right? Trent Alexander-Arnold obviously has a lot of positives, but there are some negatives with him as well. So, and the other thing, quickly to round out the point is like you talked about Real Madrid, right? And Real Madrid just got knocked out by Arsenal, and one of the main issues they had was defensively, right? And Trent Alexander-Arnold isn't, a defensive stalwart at all. And I saw some stat where out of the top like seven players who've run the least in the Champions League this season, Real Madrid have three: Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, and Rodrigo. So when nobody else is defending, you need your defenders to be really good. Maybe that means that Real Madrid might not go for him, but maybe the deal is already done. We don't know. Anyways, things bode well for you guys. And after talking about all the plaudits that your team, your management, your manager, everybody gets, let's talk about Chelsea. You've got to talk about the other side of the coin, right?
It
So
is
I
the
mean,
Lion and Liverpool podcast, so we have to talk about the lion. It's not a lion, it's a pussycat right now, man. What are you saying?
Worse than a pussycat. Pussycat is they're pretty smart and sharp, man. I don't know what we are right now. Uh, so I actually like the fact that if you guys win and you probably win your next two matches easily, right? Leicester and Tottenham. Chelsea will have to give you the guard of honor because Liverpool is what a well-run club looks like, right?
Hmm.
A club that's run well top to bottom. And Chelsea are exactly the opposite, right? We are a club that has had a very haphazard transfer policy, hiring and firing coaches willy-nilly, right? And then it kind of is poetic. It's a poetic kind of scene in that sense that a club that's so mismanaged is having to give the guard of honor to Liverpool. Well, Chelsea at one point of time was supposed to be title
Yeah,
contenders in
yeah.
the title race, not in the title race. And since then, from the second position, we've dropped down to sixth. We are actually tied with Aston Villa, who are in seventh on points, just a better goal difference. And we've dropped points against Brentford and then Ipswich at home. We were losing 2-0 to Ipswich
I
at home
saw
in the
that
last two
game.
games.
Yeah.
So a top five finish is almost out of the question because we also have a very difficult run of matches coming up, right? We
I
don't
think,
even know whether
yeah,
we'll
I don't
finish
think you
top
should call it
six.
even
Yeah.
difficult. It's brutal. So I was just looking at the pictures. You've
Yes.
got Fulham away, Everton at home, Liverpool at home, Newcastle away, Manchester United, Nottingham Forest away. I mean,
Yeah.
that's an absurd end of season fixture list. I mean, apart from the United game, which should be easy. Is
Yeah.
Chelsea.
Uh, yeah, you never know. United always turn up against bigger opposition, and Chelsea have had a hard time beating United, right? Chelsea is one of those teams, right? So the basic point here is we have tough games all around, and there's no way we are kind of getting into the top five, at least unless something completely unforeseen happens and complete something completely out of the blue happens. Because I think both Nottingham Forest, Man City have much easier run-ins, much easier fixtures than us, right? I kind of expected this based on the kind of football we started playing in the second half of the season. But here's the question now, right? We are currently sixth on 54 points. Last season we finished sixth on 63 points. So it's highly likely we either finish lower than what we finished last season, both in terms of the league position as well as the points total, or just about level, right? So I would say in terms of progress on the table, there has been like minimal or probably negative, right? So changing into Maresca, we aren't playing a really good brand of football, right? If we were playing amazing football, dominating teams, and still maybe losing, I could say, okay, there is room for improvement. At least we are playing a better football. A lot of our players, their forms and performances actually declined. Cole Palmer hasn't scored, or in the longest time he had one assist in a couple of games back. Nico Jackson, I don't think he scored in like 14 games or something like that, a huge number of games. So there's no progress there. The style of football that we are playing is sleep-inducing, right? Boring, just possession ball. Absolutely no cutting edge. So I don't really see where we go from here. Maresca obviously started blaming the fans in a way. In the last game, Chelsea conceded a bad goal, went 1-0 down to Ipswich at home. Ipswich, who were like second bottom. And of course, the fans started booing, right?
Yeah.
Especially, when Robert Sanchez had the ball, and we were trying to build out from the back, and we know how error-prone Robert Sanchez is, and he was dilly-dallying with the ball. The crowd obviously got angsty, and there were a few boos. And so, apparently those boos or that negative energy affected Chelsea again, and then they tried to play out long from the back, and we conceded a second goal. So indirectly, the fans are to blame for Chelsea going 2-0 down. So, something idiotic like that. Uh, Anyways, we did end up at least drawing that game, but that was two crucial points dropped, right? So I can kind of already see a lot of cracks appearing, especially with Maresca and the fans. I don't really know what the technical directors at Chelsea are thinking, and what the owners are thinking, because they are supposed to be data driven, but I don't know what data metric they're looking at, because I think based on most metrics, we are worse than last season, maybe even in some metrics, but worse in most of the seasons. So I don't really know what we do from now, what we do going into the summer window. And the other thing is we've also had some off the pitch troubles, of course, right? Because Chelsea suddenly showed like 100 million or something profit in their books last season. And how did they do that? Lo and behold, trying to make use of another loophole. So Chelsea tried selling their own women's team, the women who are doing amazingly well, top of the table. Already I think they won the League Cup. They are also in the Champions League semi-finals. So the only positive thing about Chelsea is our women's team, and they sold the women's team to the parent company, which is Blueco. So basically, this is like the worst kind of American capitalistic loophole exploitation you can imagine, right? And of course, the UEFA is not going to just take that lying down. So they said that no, this is not allowed. You can't take us for fools, right? And so there's going to be some, repercussions there, some more fines coming into the play. So a lot is not well with Chelsea. We'll see what happens. And at this point of time, the biggest issue is when you start losing the fans, right? There's consequences to that. There's only so much the fans can take. Like I've stopped watching all the matches all the way through, right? Because I mean, I've started cooking in between the games, cleaning my house, because there's only so much
Yeah,
of
yeah.
sideways passing you can watch, right? So we'll see what happens. The other thing I wanted to talk about that has really plagued us badly over the last couple of years, apart from the plethora of issues, the one that I wanted to talk about is injury-prone players or players who are out for, various reasons. So I was just looking at it. West Fofana out for the season. He had
Mm.
surgery on his hamstring. Lavia has not played a full 90 minutes in 2 years for Chelsea. This season, he's played a handful of games and he's been out for the longest time. And then, of course, Mudryk is out for doping, right? So that's basically, 200 million worth of players who have contributed close to zero for 2 seasons, right? So, some of it is luck, but some of it is not, right? A lot of it goes down to doing the due diligence on, injury records of players, their overall physical conditioning. And for Mudryk, of course, there are other things around the game, right? You have to be sure when you're spending that much money. And I remember when we signed West Fofana, there were some injury worries. So he had been sent over to the US to get some specialized medical tests done by, I don't know whose doctor did those medical tests. Maybe Dr. Oz did the medical tests for West Fofana back there. I feel for the players personally, right? Nothing against them. It's very unfortunate, right, to have these long-term injuries. And but the club has suffered immensely, right? So much money being spent on players who basically not contributed anything. So a lot of doom and gloom. I personally see Chelsea finishing seventh, right? Because there's a bit of gap between Chelsea and Bournemouth. There's, I think, 6 points of gap. I don't think we'll drop that many points. But I think Aston Villa, who are level on points with us, will overtake us because they've done a smart thing. They've gone out and they actually, I think they beat PSG, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In the Champions League. Over the two legs, they obviously lost out, but they beat PSG. And they went and got Asensio and Rashford, as stopgap measures over the winter window, who's really helped them and given them some good momentum. And I don't see Chelsea finishing, above seventh. So that basically means our only path into Europe might be through winning the Conference League. If we can do that, I don't know whether we can. There are some decent teams in the Conference League, Fiorentina, and in one-off games, you never know. If not, it's going to be another year lost, another year wasted. Playing sideways, passing possession ball, and basically the fans booing is to blame for all of Chelsea's problems.
No, so what
Sorry
happens
for the
to
rant.
yeah, no, but what happens to Maresca? Does he continue? Because
That's a great question, right? That's where the data-driven approach comes into play, right? So apparently they got rid of Poch last season because there were some disagreements with the style of play and some underlying metrics or something. I
so
don't know
if they
what
were upset
underlying
about the
metrics.
style of play under Poch, what are they
Yeah.
talking about Maresca? I think they must be losing their hair because you guys have regressed as a footballing team. It's no fun to watch a Chelsea match, right? I mean, you want to see attacking football. At least, okay, I'm not saying you go gun ho and you're attacking. Like, it's not supposed to be a basketball game, I understand. But obviously, this sideways passing approach, and you obviously have talented players who can play well. That was what was going on at the start of the season. You guys were pretty good. So, this I don't know this keeping players in the shell, trying to be a little protective of the ball and all. It certainly hasn't worked, and it's
Yeah.
affecting you
So
guys. I mean, it's I saw the
the
Ipswich game, right? It was crazy as to how you were 2-0 down
yeah,
already, and it could have
yeah,
been
yeah. And
worse.
the problem with there's nothing wrong in like retaining possession, right? It has many positives. Obviously, you're not running up and down all the time. Your injuries in theory are supposed to go down. You should have more control of the game. But if there's no cut and thrust, right, and there isn't, like most of the games are most deadly player seems to be Kukurea, who's making like these center forward runs. And I don't know what kind of tactical genius decides to put a left back. He scored a few goals, sure, but like if that's your main outlet for scoring goals, you're in trouble, right? And if you see the games, it's the same thing. The ball goes out of the wingers. There's no support. There's no overlap. There's no good underlap with the wingers, so they are basically isolated. 2-on-1, 3-on-1 sometimes, and the ball goes back and it's recycled. So very poor kind of utilization of your resources. You're kind of nullifying a lot of the players' potentials. Like you said, Chelsea do have talented players. So I don't know whether Maresca survives beyond this season, right? I guess we have to just get used to being like seventh or eighth in the table because from the looks of it, I don't think these Chelsea owners are gonna do anything about it. Maybe, and even if they do, right? Here's my problem. Even if they go out and say, okay, Maresca is not the right person, they clearly don't know how to appoint the right person, right? They appointed Maresca after interviewing so many coaches who are doing so much better than Maresca. Even Kieran McKenna,
Yeah, yeah.
Ipswich, right? He's doing like they're still getting relegated, but he's done a decent job with this team. At least he's beat Chelsea once and drawn Chelsea at home, right? So I just don't trust the sporting directors, the technical directors to make the right decision, whether it's firing Maresca or hiring a competent person next. So I don't really know. Maybe if we win the Conference League, that salvages something. But very, very disappointing season with kind of no light at the end of the tunnel. So at least from a fan's perspective.
Wow, that's all doom and gloom for you guys. I mean, a very sorry way to end the podcast, but it is what it is. I've seen that your energy level was this high when the season started, and then it's slowly tip, and
Yeah.
it's gone.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, it's
Yep. Yep.
sapping. It's terrible to see. So this is like seeing Roy Hodgson's Liverpool. Like
Yeah.
there was really nothing to talk about. I think Steven Gerrard missed a penalty on purpose to ensure Roy gets sacked or something. Yeah, I remember. I think it was against Blackburn or something, and
Yeah.
he missed the penalty, and I think Hodgson got sacked a few days later. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe things will improve, but again, they're running Chelsea as a I don't. They're running it as a business. They're not running it as a football club. So obviously, there will be more of these transfers coming in, and balancing of books and stuff like that. But we'll see. We'll see. Uh, I think that's how we end this week's podcast. It's good to be back. Let us know what you think about Chelsea's owners or the players, or what's gone wrong with them terribly. Let us know if Liverpool still need Trent Alexander-Arnold as the third signing, or should they just let him go, let him rot it out at, I don't know, dysfunctional Real Madrid, and Liverpool build from that. Do like, share, and subscribe to our content. And until next week, take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.